We're going to begin this half hour with the case in Missouri, and it is making a lot of headlines. A special prosecutor is now being sought to re-examine the facts in this case, and NBC's national correspondent Kate Snow has been following it. Kate, good morning to you.
Good morning, Savannah. This is a case that really shook the small town of Maryville, Missouri. It's now capturing, as you say, national attention. A 14-year-old accused a popular football player of rape. An investigation began, but within months, charges were dropped, and the alleged victim and her family say they've been the target of harassment. It got so bad they moved out of town. Normally, NBC News would not identify an alleged victim of sexual assault, but in this case, the girl and her mother have come forward to tell us their story.
I felt really weak, worn down, just like I wasn't worth anything. So it means a lot to have support now.
Melinda and Daisy Coleman speaking out last night after learning their case may be reopened. The case that started nearly 2 years ago on a freezing winter morning when Melinda found Daisy passed out on their front lawn wearing only a t-shirt and sweatpants.
I asked her if she was hurting and she started to cry. And so I called, at that point I called 911 and we took her to the hospital.
It was about when we got to the hospital that I started putting two and two together and that I really started remembering some of the things that happened the night before.
Daisy says she and a 13-year-old friend sneaked out of her house and went to the home of a 17-year-old member of the Maryville High School football team. A typical teenage party took a turn for the worse. Excessive alcohol consumption and then a sexual encounter, possibly even videotaped. He told police it was consensual. She says absolutely not. Police quickly filed charges of sexual assault.
I thought something would be done about it and that it wouldn't happen again.
But then the charges were dropped. The prosecutor cited a lack of evidence. Coleman says she believes the politically connected family of the accused helped make the charges disappear. In calling for the special prosecutor on Wednesday, the district attorney said he dropped the case because the Colemans refused to speak on the record.
In my opinion, they were the one that cast the death nail on the case, and if they were wanting to put it out to life, they come back to me.
The Colemans insist that they did cooperate. What exactly happened is unclear. The court file on the investigation is sealed for now. What is clear is that life got even harder for Daisy after her accusations went public. In Maryville, Coleman says many attacked Daisy online. Feeling overwhelmed, the family moved 40 miles away, and 8 months later, the house they still owned in Maryville burned down. The fire's cause is undetermined.
I was almost relieved when they said maybe it was just electrical. I hate to think that they're that vindictive, but part of me is still afraid.
The story was reported by the Kansas City Star and sparked a national outcry. The accused man is now in college. His mother, using his name, Matthew Barnett, stepped in front of TV cameras Wednesday to say she's worried about her son's safety.
Students are having to be walked to class and having to be escorted because of their safety. That needs to stop.
Barnett's lawyer had no comment on the news that a special prosecutor may reopen the case. In past statements, he's said that his client has cooperated fully with investigators. Daisy Coleman's mother says that she's glad to hear they may get another chance at justice.
Well, it's a complicated tale, Kate. Thank you very much. Let's turn to Lisa Bloom. She's today's legal analyst. Lisa, good morning to you.
Good morning.
This is a complicated story, and there are absolutely conflicting accounts of why the charges were dismissed in this case. Is this sort of a situation where a special prosecutor might be helpful?
Absolutely. This case cries out for a review of all of the facts, exactly what happened a year ago on both sides. The prosecutor has to determine not just if a tragedy happened, but if a crime occurred that could be proved beyond a reasonable doubt in court.
The county prosecutor says he had to drop the charges because the mother and the accusing witness here, the daughter, refused to testify in a deposition, citing their own Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate themselves. If that is true, did he have any other choice but to drop the case?
You know, it would be very unusual for victims of a crime to claim Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. What crime could they be accused of? Making a false police report, perjuring themselves, making a false statement under oath? I mean, that comes to mind, but we just don't know exactly what happened there.
On the other hand, in Missouri, you cannot give consent to a sexual act if you're incapacitated and you're under the influence. That's the allegation here. The young man has acknowledged the sexual encounter. The young woman apparently was drunk. I mean, in some ways, is this an open and shut case if those are the facts?
Well, exactly, but that's the question. Was she incapacitated at the time? Was she so far under the influence of alcohol that she couldn't decide for herself whether to consent or not? Because he admits that the sexual encounter did occur.
Lisa, this is one of those cases where a lot of public attention is suddenly on this small town. A lot of public pressure is being brought to bear, and in some ways that can be good, and in some ways that can be bad.
Well, we can't broad brush the whole town, certainly, but we should be concerned if this girl and her mother and her family were driven out of the town by the harassment that occurred after she went public with this. If that's the case, I think the special prosecutor should also look into harassment, criminal threats, those type of charges.
All right, Lisa Bloom in Los Angeles for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's take a turn right now. Mr. Roker's got a check of the weather. We're talking